There's one that's in draft form.
Oh, but it's not there.
Next month. There's one right next to your.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is way above my knowledge about it. This is if there's something close to them. Okay. Okay, well, you'll have to explain that. Yeah, sir. He's got your request there. Okay. Very, very good.
Just a statement, it's kind of hard. It really ought to be a policy, or we review policies, and then develop a statement, rather than a statement and go back to it. So we're going to, the committee suggests, I agree with it, they can hand it back to the county and let HR take a look at it, because there ought to be some commitment on it, get them a procedure like saying, making more meaningful, a better place. Okay. Yeah. And the other thing is we have this work that's been going on in the future. And
What I understand is that
and that's not hard, that's very sincere. I remember that lady was talking. Yeah. Well, let's pray that
Thank you for the information.
She has to know where people both ways. That was the first straight shot. He said it all parts. What time is dinner? Just. This is going to come out here. Quite a lot of people, I mean, bring trail to be fixed.
Yeah, I think we're going to start. I'd like to call a meeting of the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors for its October meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We look for any interaction that we might be able to get with you. First thing I'd like to do is make a motion that we come out of closed session, and I would like to declare that to the best of the board members' knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements known as such matters as were identified in the motion to go into closed session were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Bailey, any objection?
Yes.
Mr. Swain?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Clinton?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Conference recording started.
Okay, the first thing that we want to do is have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask our county administrator, Mr. LaRoe, if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. LaRoe.
You'll join me? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, we'll have a moment of silence. You want to pray, do so. You just want to meditate, that's fine too. But we'll have a short moment of silence for that. Okay, thank you. Before we go into the public comment period, I just wanted to share with you something with you that I did at the last meeting. And I just want everyone to know that this board and this administration supports our first responders in EMS, fire, and the sheriff's department. And again, like some agencies or some areas of the country, we have no intentions of defunding or hurting our first responders. They are a necessary and a vital part of our community, and we appreciate them so much. Next, we will have a public comment period, and during this time, if there's anyone on the phone that would like to make comments, I think you have your instructions on where to call in, and we've got people upstairs ready to hook you up, hook your line up if you want to make any comments. When you make comments, you've got your microphones at each side of the auditorium. You don't have to come down here, but when you get to the microphone, if you would just give us your name and your number, your name and your address, so we can document that with the secretary. And I have several people that signed up to speak. First one is Lewis, I think it's deceased, about Fringer Trail.
You want me to do it now?
Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like LU. It's Lois. Yes, ma'am. You can just get to the microphone up there, and you won't have to walk all the way to here. Just give us your name and your address if you would.
My name's Lois Cassesi. I live at 18.
Wait, it's not on.
I'm Lois Cassesi. I live at 1826 Springer Trail. And the permanent closing of Route 644 affects me and my family. And two things. I think a lot of it is based on looking at a map. And Springer Trail does look sufficient, and usually it is, except in icy and snowy weather. And then we're trapped by topography. We literally cannot get up two steep hills, one on either side of us. Even four-wheel vehicles can't do it. And we are trapped. And the other thing, VDOT makes us a secondary road, so we're not a priority for them. And it can take more than 24 hours for them to get out and clean the road so that we can get in and out of the neighborhood. And the second thing is the flooding. Seasonal flooding is at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's commonplace. It happens to us all the time, a couple of times a year. And I think this decision may have been based on a freakish 2 500-year floods that happened before 2011. And then the committee in 2013 decided to permanently close, or this is what's getting before us now, the rest of Ellis Run. We need it. There was a reason it was constructed and maintained for more than 50 years. That's our only way in and out in these couple of days when it ice and snows. We cannot get out. And if you can't put it on VDOT, we're a secondary road. It takes them a while to get out. And I know I'm the only one here right now representing this, but with the pandemic, my neighbors have emailed their concerns, and they have the same concerns I do, because they have a special needs child, just like I do. And we are literally trapped a couple of days a year. And to all of a sudden decide not to maintain a section of the road that's been maintained for over 50 years, to me, it's just ridiculous. And I'm sure that putting this new culvert pipe that was $300,000 estimated, the repair and everything, to handle another 500-year flood would have been sufficient for all these floods that we have every spring. These roads literally wash out completely a couple of times a year. So the maintenance, repairing for floods is just commonplace. But the 500-year flood that washed out this one section and caused y'all not to want to repair it ever again has put us in danger. And I'm not exaggerating. We are literally trapped. Out of the time that you have temporarily closed it, there has been at least 6 days. My husband has not been able to get out for work. We're self-employed. He's a contractor. He doesn't get paid if he doesn't show up. But we really can't get out. It's ice, snow, and steep. So I would hope that before you all permanently close this road, that you take the time to go out there and see it for yourselves. That if you drive these steep hills, you realize in ice and snow, nothing can get up and down. And at the planning committee meeting, only one gentleman said he had been on the road. And I'm sure I'm betting my odds that he hasn't been on there when it's after a bad storm. You cannot get around. So there was a reason Ellis Run was built. We need it, and it's for our safety. And now there are more homes here. There's going to be more flooding. It's gotten worse. We're doing more construction and buildings of homes. When we moved there, it was only that cute little one farmhouse. Now there are 2 more homes in this little valley that are trapped. So I think Ellis Run is even more important than it was. And I wish you all would reverse your decisions. And I know you've made a deal with other people with right of way and everything, but I don't think it was done. Somebody actually driving out there and seeing what we're doing. Looking at a map, it looks great, Ringer Trail looks sufficient, but it's not. The topography tracks us. So please, before you make your final decision, go out there, drive it for yourself, and realize that you have trapped 3 homes in bad weather.
How many days did you say you were trapped in? You couldn't get out? 6 days?
At least 6 days since you all temporarily closed in 2011, at least 6.
Now, was that due to the snow and ice?
Snow and ice. And we're secondary road. VDOT's not going to just run out to us. They're going to do everybody else first before they get to us. It has been more than 24 hours that we have been stuck and trapped. And thank God nothing's happened. Nobody's had a heart attack, broke a limb, or houses burned down, or anything. But it can happen, guys. It's scary. And I'm sure you all would want to be trapped. We are trapped.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And we'll take that into consideration. Next speaker we have, I believe, is Mr. Condon. Wants to speak on Rocky Forge.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Dave Condon at 520 Kenny Hollow Road, Eagle Rock. Before I begin, before you, Mr. Martin, are several diagrams showing the 450 square miles of Everest military operational area, as well as another one, which is the expansion of it, which will encompass Highlands, Bath, Allegheny, and Botetourt County. And within that 10-mile region of influence, which is included with that, it overlaps the Rocky Forge site. The other one in red is a military tool or DoD tool, and in red there's supposed to be another aeronautical study because it could highly impact homeland security as well as NORAD radars. That was not done. So anyway, let me read what I've had presented before you. On August 3rd, 2020, the FAA sent out determination letters stating no hazard data navigation. However, it allows for any interested parties to appeal or submit a petition no later than September 2, 2020, which was done, finally received at the FAA on August 31, 2020. The concerns was lack of circular notice to include Botetourt County, no evidence to substantiate the determination was included in those letters, the lack of identifying military training routes. They only mentioned VR 096, which runs east and west, and you see F-16s coming from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Goldsboro. This does not account for all the other aircraft and all the other military, to also include Lifeguard 10. In the past, Perky Airfield, for example, has had maneuvers by Army helicopters out of Fort Bragg. So a lot of these areas have not been investigated. And the map with the flight paths is just one map. There's 3 or 4 other maps with flight areas. Anyway, on the 26th, I requested information under FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And today, the FAA has failed to send it. And it's been going on 2 months. Anyway, I received a letter dated October 14th. And essentially, it has put on hold their approval for further investigation and has allowed, let me finish it, has allowed for the open comment period extended through November 22nd. Because of their failure to fully investigate, I'm having federal agencies to investigate the FAA because it's a military accident waiting to happen. And I grew up around military aviation, and I've seen those accidents and what damage and harm and to life, property, and so on. So, I believe in renewable energy, but unfortunately, it was not vetted correctly, encompassing all that's set by the FAA. So basically, it's on hold for right now.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And I'll turn this over to staff. And again, we appreciate your time bringing here and go over it with us. The next item that we have under recognitions, we have Mr. John Williamson. Well, someone here, there he is. Mr. Williamson, would you come up front, please? I'm going to come down front. They probably won't be able to hear me as well. I would like to be right with you when I do this. It's good seeing you.
Good seeing you, sir.
You had some beautiful pictures from your trip out west. If we can get right here, maybe they can hear us right here.
Very good.
I do have a proclamation for you, and I would like to read that before I present it to you. Whereas Mr. John B. Williamson III served as a member of the Botetourt County Economic Development Authority from January 2018 through July 2020, and whereas during his tenure with the authority, Botetourt County announced the location of Pratt Industries in Botetourt Center, Greenfield, and the expansions of Matulsa and Magdala at the county, and whereas also during his tenure, Mr. Williamson assisted in the county's efforts to diversify its economic development tax base and worked on an EDA subcommittee to oversee the design and construction of the new Colonial Elementary School. And whereas Mr. Williamson has had a great relationship with the Board of Supervisors and county staff and has their respect for his leadership, passion, and vision to provide better economic development opportunities for the county citizens. And whereas Mr. Williamson's experience, knowledge, and dedication to the county is sincerely appreciated by the county, its staff, the members of the Economic Development Authority, and the county citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors hereby expresses its sincere appreciation for the 2.5 years of service given by Mr. John B. Williamson III to the citizens of Botetourt County through his service on the Botetourt County Economic Development Authority. Further, the board wishes Mr. Williamson all the best in the future, and we appreciate your time you spent on that. And that's signed by me, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, sir.
He didn't want to make any comments. I don't know why.
Well, I don't either.
Yeah, he usually can't stop.
I didn't want to get started, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next we have a presentation of the American Planning Association Award by Mrs. Nicole Pendleton.
Mr. Martin,
Yes, ma'am.
would you care to join me?
Be my fault.
The Botetourt County Department of Community Development, with assistance from Mr. Cody Sexton, nominated Mr. Billy Martin for an individual award from the Virginia American Planning Association. For more than a decade, Mr. Martin has embodied the goal of helping Virginia plan by promoting sound planning and decision-making in the Commonwealth. Moreover, he has been a tireless advocate for both local and regional planning efforts while serving on the Board of Supervisors. In his 4th term on the County Board of Supervisors, representing the Blue Ridge District, the county's experienced increased growth and development, Residential, commercial, and industrial growth have all occurred under Mr. Martin's watch. He's taken a keen interest in it all, including the creation of urban development areas, the expansion of workforce housing opportunities, and the development of additional industrial sites for continued economic development. He's often had a front row seat for local planning efforts because he served on the Planning Commission as the board's ex officio member. He's been able to contribute to the planning process at every turn and works directly with planning staff. He's been able to address potential concerns with projects before they move too far along in the process, helping to ensure better outcomes for both the developers and the community. He takes the time for every land use application to explore all citizen issues, conducting his own research, such as taking his own traffic counts, and inquiring with staff about every possible angle of each and every project. He is a thorough advocate for the citizens and is just as committed to his service to the business and development community. He's also served and led both the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission and the Roanoke Valley Transportation Planning Organization. He's committed to a regional approach to achieve broad goals across jurisdictional lines. Additionally, he's consistently been recognized as a planning leader in Virginia. His service to Aardvark has also led him to represent the region at the Virginia Association of Planning District Commissions. He's lent his voice and expertise to the broader planning conversations across the state, serving as president of that organization and presented the President's Award in 2019 from the Virginia PDC. He is truly deserving of his recognition for his contribution to planning. Whether analyzing the details of local land use applications or evaluating the merits of regional projects or even advocating for statewide planning policy, he has a breadth of experience that makes him stand out. But it's not only his service to the field of planning at all levels that's commendable and not likely to be found elsewhere. It's his big heart for the community of Botetourt, the Roanoke region, and planning in the Commonwealth that made him be a winning candidate for this state award. So, Mr. Barton, I am pleased to present you the Cardinal Award for Legislator of the Year from the Virginia American Planning Association.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is for Time Magazine.
Because they don't have time, right?
Right.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you and Cody Sexton both for putting that in, and it was a surprise. And I know there's a lot of people who deserve this more than me, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. I will say that this was a surprise. They held it from me for a good bit, but it's all, a team effort with all of the supervisors and the county staff to get things accomplished. And I appreciate the staff in the county and our fellow supervisors so much because they work so hard to make this county successful and put us ahead of other localities. So to all of you, I thank you, and it's a pleasure working with you. Next, we have a presentation to the Blue Ridge Rescue Squad, Jason Ferguson, Chief Jason Ferguson.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, bittersweet moment for me as a chief in the county because I cut my teeth, as I believe two of you may have, with the Blue Ridge Volunteer Rescue Squad. As you know, earlier this month, the Rescue Squad portion of the Blue Ridge Volunteer Fire Department Rescue Squad Incorporated ceased to respond to emergency calls out of just a lack of membership availability. And that said, we wanted to make sure that as part of that closure of the organization, that their history be memorialized and respected on their 39th year. So with that, I have the current rescue chief, Mr. Adam Murray, and Ms. Donna Winfield. You recently served as treasurer. So I'll read the resolution to you. Whereas, after already established Blue Ridge Volunteer Fire Department and a group of citizens of the Blue Ridge community recognized a need for local emergency medical services, the Blue Ridge Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Squad Incorporated was incorporated in 1981. And whereas the newly formed component of the organization immediately began serving those living in and traveling through Blue Ridge and the surrounding areas of Botetourt County, and whereas the Rescue Squad quickly became one of the most advanced and highly trained emergency medical services agencies in the area, and whereas countless lives have been saved or impacted for the better because of the dedicated service of the men and women who have volunteered with the Rescue Squad, and whereas after nearly 40 years of service to the residents, businesses, and visitors of the Blue Ridge area, the Rescue Squad has prided itself on excellent patient care, innovation through the initial implementation of the area's first mobile simulation ambulance, and service as an active component of the public safety community. And whereas the Blue Ridge Volunteer Rescue Squad has more recently been faced with ever-growing challenges of recruiting and retaining volunteer personnel, and whereas on October 1st, 2020, due to a lack of volunteer personnel to continue to serve the community with pre-hospital or emergency medical services, the rescue component of the Blue Ridge Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Squad Incorporated decided to cease the provision of 24/7 emergency medical services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors, wishes to recognize the nearly 40 years of dedicated service to the Blue Ridge Volunteer Rescue Squad provided to the Blue Ridge community, and express sincere gratitude for the service to the men and women who so thanklessly gave of their time so that others may live. So congratulations.
Thank you guys for your service. You know, when I first came to Botetourt, I joined the Blue Ridge Rescue. Mr. Sloan was on there. He had it's a hard job trying to keep me straight, but we worked together. And, you know, I can remember the good times we had, the bad times we had, the calls we run, and the times that we were able to help people. And sort of bittersweet now to see that we don't have any active members to run rescue, but I'm hopeful that in the near future that we might be able to, you know, to gather some more people to get the squad going again. We do appreciate all that you folks have done out there, and you know, it's, what can I say? I mean, you're just angels of mercy, and we appreciate it. Mr. Sloan, would you?
Well, I did find a relic. This was mine.
I've got one of those too.
Billy's got one. This was one of the original jackets that we wore. We wanted to get away. Vinton had green, and we wanted to get away from green, so we picked light blue. The necessity of the patch was, they said, keep it simple, stupid, so stupid did. And he still is, but it was just the mountains that we love around us. I would imagine it was probably about 30-some people that got together that first night. And I was very, very fortunate to be one of them. And it's kind of hard to see that it's gone, but it's the life that we're in right now. So thank y'all for being here today. And the memories will last. I mean, it was a lot of memories. There was a lot of good people. A lot of people that has gone on.
Yes, sir. I know that.
So, but thank y'all for being here.
You have supervisors want to make a comment?
I think, as the chief said, it's bittersweet. You know, it's unfortunate. I know that I want to make sure that area is served the best way possible. And so we'll open up that opportunity. But certainly bittersweet. So.
Simple thank you for all you've done. Thank you guys so much. And we're gonna get some more people back down to read. Thank you. Thank you. Is Mr. James Cook here? Could you come down, please, sir? I should have called you up during public comment period, but I just want to introduce you and just ask if you have any comments. Mr. James Cook is on the board for the Dabney S. Lancaster Community College Educational Foundation, newly appointed. So if you would you like to make any comments? So I wanted to introduce you anyway.
Can I take this off?
Help yourself.
Thank you. It's hard to follow that kind of presentation. But thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come up here, and thank you also to the Supervisors Clinton, Sloan, Bailey, and Smithorn, and County Minister Malone. Thank you. On behalf of the President of Dabney S. Lancaster, who many of you know, Dr. John Renoni, and our Chair of our President of our Board, Educational Foundation, Michelle Crook, who you know as well, many of you know, and as the newly appointed Executive Director for the Educational Foundation, I wanted to come by and, one, introduce myself, and two, say thank you. Thank you for your support for the foundation and to the students that come from the northern Botetourt area to get their education at Dabney. As you know, with this COVID-19 pandemic, it's a lot of uncertainty. And what we have seen in our enrollment is an uptick. We have a 10% increase in students that are staying home. They don't want to go to the four-year universities, or even some of those that are affected by unemployment or underemployment because of what has happened has sought another vocation. So we've seen an increase of our students, and it looks like we're going to see that again. The governor is going to announce in the next couple of days a fund to help students that can start next semester, and that the 23 DCCS schools are a beneficiary of that. I can't get into more details. Those will soon be released. With that said, I wanted to tell you what last year was like, or I'm sorry, this year was like. Of our foundation, we're a small foundation in a rural area, but we have a really significant impact. We have 135 students that have received scholarships this year. That's off of FTEs of 640. So 640 students that attend full-time, 135 received scholarships. 12 of those came from the northern Botetourt area. Of those 12, 9 were showed a significant need and had expected family contribution that was very low. And so of those, 9 of them received what we call the Dabney Promise. That's where our contributions that from the county supervisors, the county commission, and from the Educational Foundation and 2 prominent donors in our area have supported students to attend Dabney to fill in the gap. So that means those 9 were able to attend Dabney cost-free. So with that said, or the 7 that actually received it, 2 didn't receive it. So with that said, I wanted to say on behalf of the Educational Foundation, thank you. Thank you for what you do for the students. Thank you for having a vision that continues to see that the education is important, regardless if it's a 4-year education or vocational education like Fast Forward or Workforce, or credential programs or nursing programs. So again, thank you for what you do for Dabney, for the students, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. We would like to congratulate you on your new appointment. We wish you all the success that you can get.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, items 3 and 4 is under the consent agenda. I hope you've had time to look at that. Do I hear?
Mr. Chairman, move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Dr. Scott Horn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Bailey and Mortician Sloan. Okay. I think Bailey got him first, so we'll put that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 5 is public hearing on a proposed amendment to the FY21 budget for the continuation of projects begun in FY20. Mr. Zabrell, I believe you got that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, all in attendance. The total reappropriation request to amend the FY21 budget exceeds 1% of the original FY21 budget. Therefore, according to State Code of Virginia, public hearing must be held on the matter. The public hearing was duly advertised to the Fincastle Herald on October 14th. On October 5th, at a meeting with county staff and budget subcommittee, a review of departmental and administrative recommendations was performed, and after subject discussions, the result was an advertised reappropriation request totaling $1,494,398. Operational reappropriation request totals $564,884 and includes representation from General Government Administration, Public Safety, Public Works, Recreation and Culture, and Community Development functions. The largest departmental request is for Fire and EMS for $178,000 in unspent state grants and program funds. With respect to capital improvement projects, they represent $929,514 of the total request. That includes funding for continued projects such as tax software, General District Courthouse, public safety communication projects, and match funding for the Greenfield Historic Preservation Initiative. The largest single CIP reappropriation is $250,000 for the county facility master plan. It should be noted that there were two FY20 projects that were previously brought before the board due to the need to make progress on those projects early in FY21. Those projects were for the Greenfield County offices relocation and the Botetourt 2019 broadband project, which included both state and county funds. These two projects were previously reappropriated for a total combined figure of $1,273,054. It should also be noted that if the board approves the reappropriations as requested, there will be approximately $3.3 million in unspent budget funds that will revert back to the general fund. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to open a public hearing for comments, followed by a closing of the hearing, and consideration of adoption of the listing of reappropriation requests that will serve to amend the FY21 budget by $1,494,398. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the members of the board? Doesn't appear so. So you need a motion to approve that?
Open.
Open public hearing.
Okay. You're right, okay. Then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I don't have anyone that has signed up to speak. Any comments from anyone in the audience? If not, then I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion among the members of the board?
Should we check if there's anyone on the phone that needs to speak, sir?
My apologies. Is there anyone on the phone that would have any comments on this? Thank you. Just forgot about that.
If you do, press 5 and then star.
Okay. Since I hear no comments, then any other discussion from the members of the board?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further discussion, I'll move for approval.
Okay, second. Approval and second. Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, motion carried. And thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, Mr. Zarella, I believe you have the agenda item number 6 and 7. So we'll go with approval of transfers and additional appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
For the month of October, there are 3 transfer requests and 4 quarterly recurring transfers. With respect to appropriation requests, there are 9 pass-through appropriations and 4 regular appropriations being requested. The pass-through items 1 through 9 represent expenditure reimbursements, grant funds, insurance proceeds, donations, and a transfer to the EDA. As for regular appropriations being requested, item 10 is for a replacement vehicle for the library, and item 11 is an appropriation to fire and EMS for career staffing at the Blue Ridge Station as a result of the recent ceasing operations of the Blue Ridge Volunteer Rescue Squad. There will be an additional appropriation request next month for approximately $200,000 for this item. Finally, items 12 and 13 are appropriations to the school operating fund for expending CARES Act monies provided by the county for school buses and for HVAC equipment for the school's air quality improvement projects. Especially requested that these transfers and appropriations be approved by the board. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments from the members of the board?
Mr. Chairman, move for approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sloan. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried. Mr. Zarella, I believe you have the next one also. Approval of accounts payable, ratification of the short accounts payable list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Total expenditures being requested for approval for October for the general fund, including debt service and all other funds, is combined $3,036,162.88. Of the total, $1,585,000 was spending of CARES Act funds. Payable disbursements of note for the month were as follows. Local Health Department, $85,204 paid to Botetourt County Health Department for the second quarter funding commitment. Under regional organizations, $38,300 paid to Visit Virginia Blue Ridge for FY21 dues. This is payment 2 of 4. For transfers to the EDA, $136,782 paid to the Economic Development Authority of Botetourt County for a progress payment to Craig Botetourt Electric Cooperative for Phase 1 of the Botetourt Broadband Project funded by the state and the county. Under CIP, County Offices Relocation, $122,785 paid to FNS Building Innovations as a progress payment number 5 for the Greenfield renovation project. With respect to CARES Act fund disbursement for the month, the two largest disbursements were transferred to the EDA for $786,282 for funding for Phase 2 of the broadband project with Craig Botetourt Electrical Cooperative, and $533,486 for 6 buses for the Botetourt school system. Are there any questions or comments related to the accounts payable request for the month of October?
I don't have any of the other members of the board have any comments or questions or discussion? But pretty easy today. Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Bed, second by Dr. Scott Horn, to approve. Any question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Zarella.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, agenda item number 8. We have committee reports. First is the Monuments and Memorials Committee. Did I miss something?
I'm just wondering, Mr. Chairman, if we'll get a public hearing at 3 o'clock.
Well, we've got 5 minutes, okay. Well,
I don't know how long that's going to take.
okay, well, we can go ahead to that or wait 5 minutes to do it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would recommend that we wait till 3 o'clock, and that is what it was advertised as on the agenda. So if we want to take, at this point, 3 or 4 minutes, just go to the restroom, that might be good use.
That might be a good idea. Okay, all right, we'll just take about a 5-minute break and come back at 3. request from Thomas Wilbon III and Gary McFarland to amend the comprehensive plan's transportation map regarding the abandonment vacation of a 0.37 mile length of right-of-way on Ellis Run Road. The Planning Commission recommended approval on this request. All right.
Thank you, Chairman. All right. This is the legal advertisement for the Planning Commission request. We do have two different public hearing actions before you this afternoon. The first one is, again, in the Buchanan Magisterial District, Thomas A. Wilbon III and Gary W. McFarland Sr. in accordance with Section 25-581.4, Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Review of the Botetourt County Zoning Ordinance, a request to remove a 0.375 mile portion of Ellis Run Lane, State Route 644 from Map 12 of the Botetourt County Transportation Map for the purpose of seeking to vacate the right-of-way following the removal of state maintenance on this portion of Ellis Run Lane as previously adopted by the Commonwealth of Virginia Transportation Board on July 17, 2013. The prescriptive easement portion of Ellis Run Lane requested to be removed from the comprehensive plan measures 30 feet in width by approximately 0.375 miles in length and lies between tax map number 77-69 at 738 Ellis Run Lane, owned by Thomas A. Wilbon III and Laura D. Wilbon, and tax map 77, parentheses 4-5, owned by Linda C. McFarland, tax map number 7768, owned by Thomas A. Wilbon III and Laura D. Wilbon, and tax map number 77, parentheses 4-3, owned by Joyce M. Hendricks. So the Planning Commission had a public hearing for one of the two public hearing items that are before you this afternoon, and that was to remove the section that was just described of Ellis Run Lane from the comprehensive planning map. So in order to, the second request, and they are related, is to formally abandon that section of Ellis Run Lane. So the first request is a requirement for the second request. However, in 2013, the board at that time voted at the request of VDOT to discontinue maintenance of that right-of-way. They did not formally abandon the right-of-way, so it exists. Similar to, it's not really a paper street, but it is not a easily traveled road at this point. It has not been maintained by VDOT. So Mr. Wilbon, Mr. McFarland made a request to continue, in addition to the discontinuing of the maintenance of that, which has already been done, the formal abandonment of that, which would vacate that right-of-way for public use. The property owners adjacent to that, according to the deed, maintain a 30-foot easement along that portion of Ellis Run Lane. The question that the Planning Commission had was if the board chose to vacate or abandon that right-of-way, if it would landlock any properties on Ellis Run Lane. And upon consultation with the county and attorney and the deed research that we did, it would not landlock any properties. We did receive some public comments via telephone and email prior to the public hearing with the Planning Commission. We also heard from Mrs. Bassesi, who is an adjoining property owner at the Planning Commission, and she has provided you with written comments as well as her remarks earlier this afternoon. We also received another email from an adjoining property owner that you all have before you as well. And that was from Mrs. Kristen Briggs, and what she was requesting that there would be a study potentially to determine a way to provide assistance to the residents that live along Fringer Trail. So again, there are two requests. The first is to remove the road from the comprehensive plan's transportation map, so not showing that as a road. Again, it is not actively used as a road. This is the particular map that would be removed. It would be removed from. And you can see here, if you kind of look through right about here, you can see you do not see the actual road like you would typically see in an aerial map. So, and then a second request, and the public hearing is required for both of those, is to abandon the right-of-way, to formally abandon that portion of Ellis Run Lane.
By the county.
I'm sorry.
To abandon it by the county.
Yes. So there's a lot going on, and I recognize that. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
Now, this directly affects Springer Trail. What the lady was saying earlier.
At this point, there is no access, passable access on Ellis Run Lane. So it is in essence like a paper street at this point in time. It's like a paper street. It's not maintained. It's not maintained with gravel. It's not maintained to be passable for a vehicle at this point in time.
The way I understand it, there's trees growing up in it, and there's also a creek running down the road. What used to be the road. Is that correct?
According to the
Well, we
aerial
don't
maps,
know that, so I could not find the access to get into Ellis Run Road from the western side. Okay. I went in from the eastern side, which, you run up by the Wilman residence, and you go all the way up to the Deacon residence. And that is where there is a bridge. Is that a low water bridge up there by Kitchen's house? No? So there's a bridge up there, but he had his truck parked in front of the bridge, so I could not access getting across it. So, and I have traveled Springer Trail several times. Me and Mr. Barney's going to have a little discussion after a while about it, and there's certain things that we need to do, but I'm still in quandary.
Great. Hey, Ray, you did travel up there, and there is a
truck parked in front, so you could not.
I couldn't get across to go into where she's talking about. I went up to the end of maintenance on Ellis Run, which is right before a creek bridge.
And right before there's a truck park.
Yeah, it wasn't Wilbon's, but I think it's Mr. Dickens.
There's some further stuff going on.
Yeah, I know, I'll say that, but.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried about the individuals that are getting trapped in this area. If this is a truly, I would like to see it. I will say that I have not gone up to that area to take a look at it. The neighbors in that area that the road runs are in favor of closing it, correct? And that they will take over that little property, or because it'll be all abandoned. And they are in opposition about anybody traveling through that area. Agreed.
I would ask Mr. Wilbon to kind of speak as to his desire for the request. It's my understanding.
Is he here?
Yes, he is here.
Blue shirt, top row.
I would certainly love to hear from him as well. If the other board members would allow that.
Okay, yeah, he's. Yeah, I just don't want to end up voting on something that's going to hurt them or get them trapped back in their lake.
Well, to me, with the situation as it is now, I understand what she's saying. The Bessezes live in AV. You've got an upward slope going out of the, let's just say, the northern route of Pringer Trail. And then she has a upward slope going out the southern end of Pringer Trail. So if any ice or anything like that would happen over there, they're in a rut. Okay.
How about
But they are still in a rut because I don't think she's going to be able to get across Ellis Run right now.
It's blocked.
Yeah.
And it's also.
I mean, it's been, what, 8 years? So you got trees, unabandoned roadways, you're going to have trees being built up, and I understand there's already a creek that has changed its way to go down the road. So, it's one of those things that, and see, we experienced the same thing on Mountain Valley when we lived over there.
And as far as emergency services, and when they get it, yeah.
I think, we have responded, in my dealings with fire rescue, we have responded over there.
Yeah, this afternoon is the first that I've been really brought into the conversation specific to this. So I'd certainly be happy, as I was telling Mr. Wilcox earlier, to go out there and take a look. I know he had some things from the Pringer Trail perspective, but particular to this area, I would be happy to go out and evaluate it and see what access we would or wouldn't have, so that it's very clear as to what we could get to emergently or not.
Would it be appropriate, and I want to hear Mr. McLemore's comments here, but would it be appropriate to table this just for a little bit, to take a look at it, to go up there and evaluate?
I feel more comfortable doing that.
But let's listen to Mr. Wilkman, if you would.
You have the floor, sir.
All right, I'm Tom Wilman. The western end, which is at 738 Frank Ellis Run, that's where the state maintenance ends. There is a bridge there now, which I built myself, or had built, so I could access my property from that end instead of going around on Pringer Trail to get to it. It is accessible for probably several hundred feet till it enters the McFarland property. From then on, it's trees. If you wanted to walk through it, you ought to take a chainsaw. That's how you get through it. There's a spring branch still running down the road all the way to the eastern end of that road where it intersects Pringer Trail. What other questions would you like to have?
I think you answered that.
The bridge there is now is a private bridge. It does not belong to the public in no way, shape, or form. There's a pickup truck, yes, was parked there, mainly for our access to that property only. I don't know any other questions you have. Mr. Martin, Mr. Hawthorne and Mr. Clinton approved all this in 2012 when they upgraded Pringer Trail. I donated enough land on Pringer Trail to provide better access for the school buses and the mail carriers on that route. As far as the steepness of the inclines, we live in the mountains. You're going to have ups and downs wherever you go. There's nothing VDOT could have done about it, or anybody else could have done about it. But it's now a hard surface treated road for probably 3/10 of a mile. It all came off my property. A donation to the county. That's basically all I can tell you. Mr. Martin, Mr. Scawthorne, and Mr. Clinton, y'all were on the board at that time, and y'all approved all this at that time. This is a matter of paperwork that was not done afterwards. They got the road improved, and then everything got turned around to VDOT, and the county, and it just never got finished. This is an attempt to finish the paperwork only. The road is abandoned on Ellis Run, period. It's going to take probably $1 million to upgrade that road for vehicle and traffic again. You've got the main culvert, you've got 2 other culverts right below that flood 3 or 4 times every year. So far this year, that's what it's doing. And just a heavy rainstorm. So you got more issues to contend with if you reopen Ellis Run. And that's all we're trying to do is clear up the paperwork. Ms. Pendleton has done a very exhaustive study along with the county attorney. And this all had been approved through Richmond at that time in 2013. She's got the documentation before that. It was presented all to the planning commission over the course up to this time. Any other questions? Please ask now. I'm here to address them.
Thank you, sir. That was pretty well put.
Is there any motion to table?
When's the last time that road was used, Louis? If I can ask that.
The flood, the really bad flood, 2 of them right before 2011. And that was the last time, and that was when you all had a meeting in 2013 where you just said we don't want to deal with it because you were going to have to deal with putting in a new culvert, fixing it. And no, we haven't been able to use that, and it has affected us. Like I said, it's been at least 6 days we have not been able to get out. And so we mentioned it then, Lindell's and us, who it mainly affected. And the other house, it's a rental. These people are new. They never even knew about Ellis Run. But Lindell's did email you guys in support, and they were there at the 2013 meeting, and we tried to stress how much it endangered us. We even brought our special needs kids to the meeting, just to make it more obvious what you all were doing. And it seems like the decision was already made. It didn't matter what we said, and we told you it traps us. There's a reason. Ellis Run was there. There was a reason. And if they built it way before we even moved there, and there was only just that one farmhouse, now there's 2 more houses there. So you're saying now it's not even as important as it was back then? It's more important. And yes, all these roads flood, and I'm not surprised that there's a creek running down there now. There is a creek that runs from my place down. That's where it goes. It goes, and that's what Ellis Run did. It followed the creek, a nice flat path up to our house. That's what it did. It provided. And yes, it is affected by heavy rains. Pretty much every place on the map, if you see the creek and the road meet, you're going to have seasonal erosion. It's just the nature of the roads being up against the Blue Ridge Mountain. And it just happened to have happened really bad twice before 2011. It was enough that y'all wanted to put a brand new culvert pipe in. And I don't know the details about it, but I'm sure that a huge brand new culvert pipe would have handled another 500-year flood. We haven't had another 500-year flood, thank goodness, since then. But yes, we were affected, and we told you it affected us. And we've lived with not going to work or not getting out, and thank God nothing's happened to us. And I'm very thankful nothing's happened. But now you've got 11 people, and you're placing your odds that nothing's going to happen to these 11 people on those few days that we're trapped in by the snow and ice. Now your odds have gone pretty bad. It's a lot more chances of something happening. And it scares me. I'm a mother. Of course it scares me. And I know I emailed all of you guys, and I probably over-emailed you. It's because I don't know how to present it so that you understand it. And if you do have a chance to drive out there, and Mr. Sloan just said he did, realize that when you drive in, those hills, you cannot get up or down them in snow and ice, not even in 4-wheel drive. I don't care about the flooding. The flooding happens every season. I live with it. But the snow and the ice not being able to get out a couple of times a year, that scares me. And so please, I know that the road's been closed and it has affected us. We have not been able property on one street, and they did. They fixed a little section of Greener Trail, but it's on the back slope, and they did pave it. It goes from the creek to the top of the hill, and they paved it. You can't get rid of topography. It is a hill, and they made it slider, but now it's still steep, guys. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know how to present it to you guys, the severity of what you're doing. I mean, I respect him, I think it's awesome, you know, that he gave property and everything, that's great, but you guys really, really for yourselves need to see what's going on.
Thank you.
Any comments from you gentlemen?
For all the discussion that's taking place, I still feel like I need to see it.
I agree.
I just don't.
I just made the decision here a minute ago, I want to drive out and take a look at it.
Yeah.
30-day, and also the chief is going to go ahead and take a look at there as well. Is that agreeable? I move for a table for 30 days for further review. And give us an opportunity to take a look at this as well as the.
I think it varies in 90 days, just in case. That's it. We have a motion to table this for a period of 30 to 90 days, at which time we can come back and try to make a decision. I know several people want to go out and take a look at it, including myself, so I'm going to do that. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Mr. Clinton. Any question? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
I don't want to diminish the fact that Mr. Woodward has given the property to the county, you know, to help the county for the school bus and for people there too. So I want to thank him very much for his willing to give some of his property to us to help us out.
Okay. This will eliminate the need to do item number 10. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item number 11, Mrs. Middleton, I think you have that one too, update on Rocky Forge project.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Wanted to update you on activity to date since last month with the, since we last spoke at the last meeting, just let you know of the activity on the Rocky Forge project. So we did have a pre-application meeting with Apex and members of their design team, as well as all of the county and external agency reviewers on September 30th. In that meeting, they noted, Apex did note that they intended to file subdivision and site plan applications in early November. And we also did receive and deemed incomplete a preliminary site plan for the operation, equipment, and maintenance facility. And that was in order to, there were 2 locations shown on the concept plan, and so it was to solidify one of those locations. We deemed that incomplete. We've not reviewed it. We do not intend to review it until we receive further and complete submittals on the other, on all of the outstanding items. Also, on October 16th, Apex did receive approval from the Virginia Department of DEQ that authorized the construction of the facility, and they have given us a paper copy as well as access to an electronic copy of all of the plan documents as required conditions of the special exception permit. Any questions?
Any questions for Mrs. Middleton on that discussion?
I'd just like to ask if anybody's getting nervous on the progress toward the date by which they need to have site plan approval, which I think the clock started on May 26th. It has to be done 12 months after that, and we're 5 months into that 12-month period. And I understand that it's a private project, it's not a county project. We're not driving that train, but nonetheless, we have a lot of stake in this thing. And I'm not at all suggesting any kind of leverage being sought here. But what worries me is that if they keep missing dates with acceptable documents like they've done so far, and if they continue to fail to even keep up with the expected progress on the project. And they're on the hook to have an approved site plan on a given date. And as that date gets closer, that puts more pressure on us to approve what they do submit. You know, and again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything here that might be untoward, but we don't want to be put in a position of being the cause for them missing the date because we didn't get the approval in, when the request for the approval, whatever that approval might be, was a whole lot later than would ordinarily be expected. And that really worried me. And, you know, I don't know what we can do. I would suggest that we be more diligent in keeping after them and more diligent in making reports to this board, because, you know, we're the ones that are, everybody will be, but we're the ones that are ultimately answerable to the public on how that project goes. We don't lose the money. Apex is on the hook for the financial risk, but, you know, they say that projects that start poorly end poorly. And from what I can see, and I don't know, I don't have a vision on the whole thing, but this was not started very well. So there you go. I don't know what you can say about that, but I do think we need to be asking more questions and be more demanding in terms of what they submit. Because it could just begin to pile up on us, I think, and on them. So.
Any other comments? Well said, Mr. Clinton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole, could I just ask you, in regards to Mr. Clinton's comments, do you see that being a problem? I mean, do you feel that there's going to be a potential issue in your department meeting their needs? Or is that an unfair question?
With the site plan review, the site plans and our ability to review them are only as good as the way they are submitted to our office.
Okay.
So without seeing how they are coming in, we'll have a better understanding of that once we actually see what is submitted. They go through, you know, anywhere between 3 and 11 or 12 reviews, resubmittals. We by state code have 90 days to take action on our part, 10 days to deem an application complete, 90 days. External agencies have their own state code timelines for that reason.
So you feel comfortable that you can meet their needs, sounds like?
If the applications meet the requirements in the special exception conditions and the application and the plans meet the requirements in the ordinance, it will be a smoother review than if they don't.
Did they provide any kind of schedule on what they intended to submit, a critical path kind of a schedule? And just in this phase, not in construction, but just in this phase.
They're estimated, so there are really 2 main components. One is all of the construction for the road, for the equipment to get to the site. That in itself is a pretty substantial project. And then the other one would then be all the documents. And so they have mentioned that they intend to submit both of those applications by early November, which will be next week.
Do we have the right of way yet, or do they have? Do we know what their route is up to the site?
We have not seen any of those documents submitted to the county.
That's troublesome.
Okay, any other comments? If not, thank you, Mrs. Pendleton.
Thank you.
And next is agenda item number 12, Mr. LaRue or Mr. Lockley.
Mr. Chair, would you like to go back to the
Agenda item number 8, I guess I had that.
8?
You thought I'd forgotten that. Okay, committee reports. Monuments and Memorials Committee, Mr. Clinton.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir.
We met last Thursday, one of 2 meetings per month. And I would say during the last 2 meetings, we've made significant progress, some of which has already been reported in the paper. But I suppose the most significant thing has been reported is that the committee determined that it should be relocated but not altered. So that was a significant advance. I will say that there's some debate within the committee on what altered means or modified. Does it mean the inscription on the obelisk, or, which it does, I think we all agree, does it include the surrounding cannons and cannonballs and so on? And while we didn't have a formal vote on that, we sort of came to a consensus that those things, those peripheral items around the main obelisk, that those things are not part of what we're saying is the monument, that they may have to be changed depending upon upon the final location. With respect to the final location, we just started batting around ideas. Like another location somewhere in Fincastle, we're going to get in touch with the authorities in Fincastle before the next meeting to get ideas of where they might like to see it or might absolutely not want to see it. So other locations in Fincastle, perhaps a cemetery, some other place in Botetourt County. There is one site that's owned by the county, sort of at the gateway, the northern gateway, southern gateway to Fincastle. I can't remember the name of the road right now, but just as you come in to the right, south of the gas station, put up as a possibility. It's county-owned land. So we have to come to grips with where it's going to go, and if we change it, and again, the actual monument won't be changed by decree, but the site will obviously be different because we're going to move it. So the next thing we have to address is how might we change the site? And generally speaking, we haven't gotten anything specific yet on this, but generally speaking, a change to the site would probably incorporate a companion monument for some other aspect of Botetourt County's history. So that's the kind of thing we're headed towards. Another significant item was, do we include, while we have an architectural firm on site and working with the county, do we include the architectural firm in some of these deliberations? And we feel like we should, that we'd be missing the bet if we didn't use their expertise. So we'll probably incorporate them into some of the deliberations. Our immutable goal is to have the report to this board by the 26th of January. We intend to do that. It's going to be a forced march in a lot of respects, but that's what we hope to do. One thing that this board will have to consider is what we really expect in the way of a final product. Is it just a location, or is it a series of locations? You know, it gets pretty complicated. There's a lot of options there. We're thinking that we would submit to this body a recommendation for at least one location, maybe a couple locations, together with a recommendation for what the site would look like. And the site, like I say, might be a companion monument, might be a memorial park, we just don't know. So that's where we are now, and what I just said raises a couple of questions. One is funding. You know, there's something we haven't talked about, and I'm not sure what we need to do. Well, I know what we need to do in that respect is come to a decision, but really the timing is pretty good because our report will come to the board, this board, at about the same time we're beginning the budget process for the county. So by then, we hope to have an estimate of whatever our proposal might be, what it would cost. One final thing is, if you remember, the second duty of the Monuments and Memorials Committee was to look at the anti-racism statement that was developed by the administration and this board approved in July. But we were tasked with considering revisions to it. And we looked at that, and you know, the more we consider that basic assignment, that is come up with a statement on racial harmony, the more it didn't seem to be a fit for our committee. And the more it seemed like it's more of a fit for HR at the county level. For two reasons. One is they're probably more adept at that kind of thing. But the bigger reason is we felt like there should be a policy somehow associated with the statement. It shouldn't just be a statement that we roll out and say, well, here's what we're going to do. You know, something like that ought to incorporate a change in, I'll say behavior, but really a change in policy. So we feel like HR, or whatever the county wants to assign, should take a look at processes now in place that might suggest racism of any kind, or if we can't find those, what we can do to mitigate that sort of thing. So long story, long way around saying that we would like to submit that, the whole idea of the anti-racism statement back to the county administration, HR, let them come up with policies that support the notion behind anti-racism and then a statement that supports those policies. So that's what we'd like to do. Not all. I suppose that requires the motion because it kind of changes what this board assigned to the Monuments and Memorials Committee. So, I don't know whether the county attorney has an opinion on that or not. Seems like it should be a motion.
It should be one of the motions.
So I don't know what, did I explain that adequately, that we just feel like, you know, we could agonize all day long over the statement, and it probably wouldn't be adequately written, but moreover, it probably wouldn't be backed up with policies, and it just seems like there ought to be some substance behind the statement. So for that reason, I'll make the motion that the county retract from the duties of the Monuments and Memorials Committee, retract the particular duty of drafting a recommendation for an anti-racism statement. And I think that's all I can say. I think what the county does with it, then it's up to the county. It's our suggestion that HR take a look at it and take a look at our policies and make sure they're all coordinated. So I probably confused that motion. I'll just say, I move that the Board of Supervisors retracts from the duties of the Monuments and Memorials Committee the task of drafting an anti-racism statement.
Do I hear a second on his motion? Second. All right, is there any question on Mr. Clinton's motion, discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the county administrator had, there's been a policy, a letter written out that Botetourt County's, anti-racism. That was done several months ago, I think, wasn't it? And that proves the fact that, and now we want to do, the board wants to retract from that and making sure that the county takes care of anti-racism. Is that what you're saying? Eric? Go ahead.
Let me see. But, Dr. Scott, the way that I understand this, and Mr. Clinton, please correct me, what I think is that the committee would end up not coming out with that statement, but that the county would end up coming out with that statement and modifying what we already have. Not that it was bad as far as that goes, but it would end up trying to make it as strong as possible, and then that would be something that the committee could end up reviewing as part of the work. Is that an accurate estimation of that, Mr. Clinton?
Well, my motion was just that this committee,
that your committee would not.
As augmentations of that motion, our thought was that it would be a different committee. A committee form.
It would be part of the county's obligation to actually do that, not the committee's obligation to actually create that statement. Is that the way?
Which committee? This committee? That's right.
The committee that you're in charge of would not be their responsibilities.
Right. Yeah.
It would be a county-wide statement, something that that we came up with regard to anti-racism, something that would be appropriate. And we've already adopted one. Go back and look at that, see if there's anything needs to be increased or reinforced within that statement, basically.
But we think, and strongly advise that there be something behind the statement, some kind of policy, they say policy, but policy, or some way to make it real.
Even within our employee handbooks and within the things the practices that we have within the county is to support that function. It is one of the things that would be an action item that is part of that. We already have that in place, so that we're encouraging diversification, diversity, and we are not tolerating any kind of racist activities that's within the county government. And so those are the kinds of things I believe that you're pointing to. Is that correct, Mr.
Correct, yes, sir.
Understood. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Clinton, comments? Okay, if not, then we'll go to the CARES Committee. I believe we need to vote on that motion.
Only a motion and a second.
Okay, my apologies. Motion and second. Do I hear, we had questions. Any, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. We're jumping around too much here, I think. Okay. CARES Committee, Mr. Dr. David.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. CARES Committee has been busy the last couple of months. As previously reported, I think last time gave a rundown, and we'll fine-tune that a little bit today. As everybody most likely is aware, the county received $5.8 million in change.
Conference recording stopped.
So the CARES Committee, made up of myself and Dr. Scott Horn, along with county staff, meet on a regular basis to discuss the allocation of those dollars. We are doing our best to use them by the allotted time, which is, in our opinion, a little short. Nevertheless, that's the rules by the end of the year. So underneath the CARES Act, CARES dollars must be spent to qualify for use in COVID-related entities or projects or materials. So we have gone through the process. To date, we're very close to spending most of the dollars. 95.6% of those dollars have been spent in broad categories that include public health, business assistance, education, workforce, public safety, and broadband expansion-related efforts. To be more exact, the broadband category has consumed about 53%, a little over 53%, trying to facilitate the expansion of broadband, creating a backbone, if you will, of fiber in this county that will serve us, we think, well going forward to allow the expansion of broadband by private providers going forward. This is an essential part of broadband expansion in any locality, is getting it started, I guess. And Dr. Scott will talk more about that under his report, but these CARES dollars have kick-started that process quite nicely. He can expand on that, but we've got several projects that are working at this point, including some that are exiting out of this building from our center that was left behind by the community college service that we're grateful for and making good use of, I believe. So public assistance, that is Careers Works, a transit vehicle. Also, workforce and public safety, that voter registration improvements to that office, those were about 15+% of the dollars. The school system got about 16.6% of the funds so far, right at $1 million. There were school buses that were purchased, I think 6. There were Chromebooks, 534 Chromebooks for children, I think it was grades 5 through 12, that we were able to secure. There's been upgrades to the HVAC systems in the school facilities to put in plasma filtration equipment that is far superior to general filtration for air quality. So we feel like those were very solid uses of the funds. We were fortunate to be able to get these processes underway and to be able to get them achieved by the end of the year. It's certainly ongoing, but that's the way it's looking at this point. So I think that broadly gets where we were and are with the CARES dollars. I would say at this point, Mr. LaRue, anything I missed or you would like to add to that? Dr. Scott?
The only thing Dr. Bailey might mention is that it is a challenge, as you had mentioned, to be able to actually get all of this lined up and the dollars spent within the parameters that we have to spend those in the time that we were given to spend them. So it's not an easy process, and procurement needed to take place on all of this, and we needed to have all the documentation that's necessary in the backup document for that documentation, and we're anticipating additional time in audit, or additional time in finance and in accounting purposes. So it's not an easy process, but everyone pulling together has certainly helped make that work, and thank you for your quick turnarounds on approvals and things of that sort. It has certainly helped.
Well, we certainly, it's been a challenging process. We're feel fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to have access to these dollars. And I would like to thank you and the rest of your staff, Gary, for the extra time you put in, because it has been, it's been a challenge to get these things organized. So some early morning meetings and a lot of late nights. I know that particularly you put in to get people organized and get everything lined up. So we thank you for that.
Mr. Zarella, you were saying here.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Scott. There's a spend aspect, obviously. There's going to be a reclamation aspect for monies that were spent that were charged to departments and other areas that we're going to reclaim. And then there's a commitment aspect. And when you talk about spent versus commitment, there's a difference. Your point was that those monies have been almost virtually all committed. And that takes a lot of work, especially from the committee, Mr. LaRue, to even come close to the amount that they've given us in such a short time. So it's absolutely amazing that we're at this point right now.
Well, and I think the better feel good with all this is how we've been able to use it. It's one thing just to rush out here and spend money. That never sat well with me. It doesn't sit well with Mr. LaRue or Dr. Scott. So it is a challenge to get people organized and to find very purposeful uses for these dollars in a short period of time. Therein lays the challenge. And I think we've been pretty effective, and I certainly feel good about where this money has gone. And to your point, it's been, categorically, it's found a home. Now it's just a process of making it all come full circle. But feel good about that part too.
One of the things I would add to that is that I think Mr. Clinton brought up a good point. Poor planning brings out poor results.
But our county administrator, as well as the staff, have put in very good planning to how to spend this money and following up on that situation. So, and again, I agree, early mornings, late nights. We're on the phone quite often. We have a bittersweet thing here, which we're in COVID, which is unfortunate, but we have an opportunity. And we took advantage of that opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Bennett, for that report, and we'll go now to our broadband committee with Dr. Scott Hart.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the board giving me the whole time period on a previous meeting, almost an old broadband meeting instead of board meeting. So that was fantastic. And then we had gone over a lot of different things at that point in time. And I can't add but just a little bit. And we talked about leapfrogging. There's new technology out there now that is going to have a leapfrog or what we presently have and what other counties have. I think that we find with Botetourt County our ingenuity in trying to put in place what maybe other counties haven't. And I'm not giving a lot of information right now, but there is going to be some great new technology that's going to be put up. And you'll see some of that movement right now on Estler Road. And it's going to go up Blacksburg Road, meet up with Seabeck, and then it's also going to hit Catawba. So in those areas, it's going to hit about 152 homes, about 3 businesses, and then there's going to be a wireless output on top of a tower over here, a water tower, that's going to hit about approximately 500 homes with that new technology. So there's some great things, but more than not, it's really helping our fire and EMS as well as the sheriff department leapfrogging that technology and saving the county a lot of money. So we're really looking forward to that. I'm going to be able to tell you more in January, given that opportunity, new technology as well as deployment areas, and update on that. That's going to be sometime in January. So we're looking forward to getting that information out, getting hopefully some information to either through mailboxes or door hangers, letting individuals know. I will tell you, I had an opportunity to go to a bigger city this last weekend, and I will say that rural America is actually being overlooked. And the amount of money that we spend on broadband, wireless, and everything else is just appalling. And this is the whole purpose. We have taken CARES dollars. We have taken the money, giving us an opportunity to make things right. It's amazing what the Atlanta metro area is spending on wireless and broadband and what we're spending. What we need is competition, and that's what we're bringing forward. So, this money has given us an opportunity, but the know-how of our county administrator and staff has been fantastic. So kudos to them. Dr. Bailey has worked hard on this as well, so I can't mention thank you to him on some of the decisions we've made and moving forward. So more to come. I look forward to January getting out a Botetourt broadband information, and hopefully we can get that out sooner than later, but that's more to come on that. Thank you very much. I think that we're really looking for, telemedicine, telehealth, remote work areas, and that's going to be advantageous for a lot of individuals.
Thank you, Dr. Scott Hart. Thank you for your work on that, too. I know you guys put a lot of time and energy in that, and we do appreciate that. Are there any board members that would like to make any comments on any issue at this time? Okay, if not, then we'll go to agenda item number 12, where we have a public hearing on the conveyance of the telecommunications utility easement on the Botetourt Sports Complex property to the Roanoke Valley Broadband Authority. Mr. LaRoe or Mr. Martin?
The short and long of this, Mr. Chairman, is that, can you hear me all right? Okay. We're in the process of doing a fiber build, which will connect basically from right over here on International Parkway up to the water tank, as well as across the Greenfield tract, across by the sports complex, and then up and down Etzler Road and into the Dalita Hills subdivision. Thank you. And in order to grant that, the county needs to provide an easement generally following the existing dirt road that crosses Greenfield. We conveyed most of that tract to the EDA, but we still retained ownership of the sports complex. And since this will follow that existing driveway on the sports complex and then around the sports complex around Etzler Road on the road frontage there, we need to give an easement in that area because there's simply not enough right-of-way width there in order to lay it. So that's what we're asking for the board to consider. You can see, I believe that there's a map in the board package, but it simply follows the dirt road and the driveway to the sports complex, and then around along Etzler Road. If you're going out toward Etzler Road, it will be the right of 672.
Yeah, there is a map in the package here. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Lockwood before we go into the public hearing? We don't have anyone signed up. I didn't see anything. Okay, well, then I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's any comments from anyone in the audience concerning this issue. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask if any of the supervisors have any comments that they would like to make.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, I'd like to, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any question on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, agenda item number 13, Highway Department monthly update. Mr. Barney, it's good to see you, sir. Come on down.
Thank you. Where's that? Sir, I didn't realize that had become routine practice.
It is.
I apologize.
It should be.
Mr. Chairman, member of the board, staff, and public, it's a beautiful day in Botetourt County. A little overcast, but man, the view, holy cow, it's gorgeous. What I would like to do, the board report is relatively the same as it was the last time. What I'll do is I'll hit a few high points. The 220 project continues, and it's currently on schedule for the fall of 221, so that's good. I had in the board report a Parsons Road Bridge project. That thing is complete now. So they got into that thing, got done real quick and got out, and that's a real good thing to have those guys do. And they are disruptive, there's no doubt, but sometimes when you're dealing with the bridge, you just know you're going to disrupt something in the process there. The one that we talk a lot about, or been talking a lot about, is the one on Ballpark Road, and that thing continues. They're having just a devil of a time replacing those deck boards, and that has taken them much longer, and my guess is to the chagrin of the contractor, to finish than they had anticipated. This time when they sent out the report to us about where they were, there was no completion date on it. So I sent an email back to the inspector and I said, hey Matt, well, what's the new completion date? He said, we've quit giving them. He says that the process is taking so long and it's gotten so difficult that what we send out just hasn't been happening. So it's just, we just don't think that until we get further along that we're going to do that again. I said, any idea? He says, well, probably 3 or 4 weeks. So another 3 or 4 weeks added on to the already 3 or 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks. And so that project is going to end up being quite a bit overdue. And while we certainly don't like that, we get measured on whether or not our project's complete on time. So that one we're going to take a red mark on. It's one of those things that the contractor, both us and the contractor now, both of us anticipated a different result, and both of us were surprised with what they ran into. So our apologies for that thing running late, but that's what's going on with it. The 81 project up at the S-curve, we closed that thing down for a lane down, even during we were going to do it during the day, but the contractor did a really good job of getting in there and getting done and getting out. So that project is temporarily going to be on hold until the spring when we get paving temperatures again. Paving temperatures are the big issue in the interstate when you start using something that we call SMA. It's a particular type of, it's called stone matrix asphalt. That's what the SMA is all about. And it takes really, really good temperatures in order for that stuff to go down with the type of asphalted concrete that's in it. So we'll start that up again in the spring and get that thing completed. We still haven't gotten an update from the district on what our secondaries paving is going to be and what the changes are in the primaries. We're getting really, really, really late in the season, so I'm not exactly sure how they're going to pull that off, but we're still looking. You can see that there's some site plans going on here. If you've got questions about those, I mean, they really haven't changed other than the number of submittals. One of the things that I did want to talk to you briefly about was Murray Drive and where we are. I think, I don't see Jim or David, but Gary and this David are here. We've had quite a round of issues with utilities that we've been trying to work our way through. That's really put us behind. So we pulled off that job to go do another job we had to do, and I believe, best of my knowledge, that the water company is actually beginning construction on relocation of that water line, which was so problematic. And there's some easements involved and some complications that we really didn't know about. And I would go into them in more detail, but one of the things we ran into was that we believe part of Murray Drive was prescriptive. And one of the owners out there evidently owns to approximately the center line of the road. We didn't realize that. We thought all that had come in with the Rainbow Forest subdivision. But evidently that's not the case based on what the survey report was. So we're trying to work through that issue. That issue doesn't affect us near as much as it does the water utilities, because on a prescriptive road, we don't own the roadbed. So while we can give them a permit for the area and the responsibilities that we have, the right title and interest that we have in a prescriptive right of way, we can't give them complete easement because we don't own the property. The adjoining property owner does. They own the roadbed. All we own is an easement to maintain the road. So we're working through that issue, and that was a real surprise to all of us. But a little update on that. I'm going to mention Stone Cold just quickly, mainly because it appears to us that we'll be ready to come back to Murray probably in about 4 weeks. It'll probably won't take us too long, we don't think, to finish up, depending upon how the water utility leaves the roadbed. And so we think that we're probably going to finish up there. We'll probably be back in about 4 weeks, weather dependent. It's probably going to take us another 2 or 3 weeks to finish. That's if we can pave. If we can't, then we'll have to figure out how we're going to winter that road. And from that, we've got a small project in Roanoke County we're going to go back and do. But after that, it looks like we will be prepared to come back to work on Stone Cold. That means we may do some work on Stone Cold late in the winter, maybe really early in the spring. So we may do some of the pre-paving work, and then Stone Cold will get paved pretty quickly in the spring if things go as they're currently planned. Just a little update on that. Hopefully you've seen that there's been some additional maintenance done at exit 150. Certainly some mowing. We've worked on the center of the roundabout. We have bid. And is currently out for advertisement. Some additional landscaping in the old truck stop area itself. The bids are due back the 12th of November. Hopefully we'll get a bid that we can live with, that's within budget, and we can proceed with that. That would probably be a two-part process, one this fall and then another one sometime in the early spring. And we are continuing to work on a maintenance contract for some increased maintenance in that area and are working with the sheriff. And let me say thank you very much to Sheriff Ward, his interest and his willingness to jump in and help, and that's admirable. It's rare that I have worked with sheriffs that were that interested. And so we've worked well together to get some things done, and I'll say publicly, thank you, Sheriff Ward. All right. The rest of this is sort of stuff that you see all the time, what we're doing, where we're doing, how we're doing, those kinds of things. So I won't go into those. But the ones that I mentioned were the ones I thought were probably of most interest to you. Now, if I missed something, or there's something you'd like to add or ask, then we're ready for that. You're good?
Okay, gentlemen, any?
Mr. Martin.
We'll start with Mr. Clinton, yes.
Very simple question, I think, that we probably all know the answer to, but nonetheless it came up from a constituent. The far reaches of Country Club Road, past the Country Club where it becomes windy and narrow, to my recollection, there's nothing that is anywhere in the plans, I don't think, is it?
No, sir.
Yeah. Which means if anything happens, it's going to be a long ways off.
Yes, sir, that's exactly right. And the other thing to remember is because it's paved, you can't use unpaved road money on that project. It means it would be all telefees. That takes a terribly long time to fund those types of projects. If there's some identifiable safety reason or there's other public benefits that could be drawn from that, then working with staff through Smart Scale would probably be the much better alternative.
And where is the starting point for that? Is it just how long here, or?
Probably with your planning staff.
Yeah.
Yes. They would look at the project. They have so much experience with Smart Scale. They have a good feel for it. They'll know the things to look for. We have good conversations with them. We can talk about what the process might be and help with, like we normally do with things like estimates. And so that's really how the process is, very collaborative. Yeah. That would be a good place to start. The best place for the county to start on a project like that is with staff.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I have a packet for you.
Oh, fantastic.
The cheesecake recipe?
Might be a recipe for River Trail.
Oh, okay.
Of course, at the beginning of this meeting, we were in discussion about Ellis Run.
Yes, sir.
And amongst all of that, had a lady by the name of Beverly Cole. She came to me and she says, what do I need to do? I said, the best thing you can do is to get everybody together to sign petitions. So what you have in your hand is 31 people that live on Trainer Trail. That's not all of them. Mr. says, if you don't mind, I'm going to add yours to this to give to him. And just the, thanks, sir. Just to give you, they have been living with dust and added travels, not only by the school buses, but logging trucks. I think the the area of ours has a logging issue now. Other large vehicles like UPS and people like that coming in. I rode over there today, been over many times. I haven't encountered a vehicle yet, but even in a Jeep, it would be a big balls. If somebody goes down in that ditch, the Jeep ain't gonna get out. Call Jeep. But I think that we're going to take is everybody going to go individually, or we're going to have a field trip?
Either way suits me.
So we're going to schedule that.
We need 2 at a time.
2 at a time.
Yeah, we can't have a board meeting.
Can't have a few more.
Right.
I'll go separately.
We can go 2 at a time.
Good. Anyway, we might have to take 6 trips.
I'd be glad to make
But
six
anyway,
trips.
we need to take a look at this.
Sure, absolutely.
This is a lot of people that I have to answer to. Okay.
Understand.
And Mr. Bessetti is here, Mr. Wilbon's here, they're in here. And, we need to look at something because I understand that there's ATVs running up and down the road. There's hunters going up and down the road, bear hunters, people like that. And like I say, with the way the road is, it's tight. I mean, it is really tight. And with her situation, as you read hers, she feels like that in the topography that she's in, if something happens, she's not going to be able to make it. And she was stuck for a couple of days. But been there, done that, but just want to make you aware. Cody said, I mentioned for him, we're going to start discussing this also in our safety committee meetings also. So just want you to be aware.
Absolutely. Okay. If there's anything I can do to help, I'll be glad to do it.
Will do.
So
Thank you.
I'll be glad to make every trip with you guys. Just give me a day and a time.
That was a reason.
Yes, sir.
And I had talked to you about 2 locations in the Blue Ridge with range drones. It looks like I'm free on Thursday and Friday this week if you would be down in that area.
Well, I'll tell you what, sir, unless let me check my calendar, but unless something's changed on my calendar, I'm free all day long on Friday. So that'd be Halloween. You got to turn me loose so I can trick or treat.
About 9:30 or 10 o'clock on Friday morning.
I think that's something we can do, sir. And all you have to do is tell me where to meet you.
Might be good to start at my house. These houses are, one of them's on Lee Road, the other one's on Rolling Wood Court.
Okay. And that was going to be 9 a.m., correct, sir?
I think I can get up that early.
It's up to you then. Make it easy on yourself.
That's fine.
Okay. I usually start, 5:45 or 6:45 or so.
My alarm.
Let's start on this time.
Okay.
Okay, that'll be fine. 9, did you say 9 or 9:30?
I said 9, but 9:30 works well too.
Let's try 9:30.
9:30. All right. If it's any later than that, sir, you won't have to buy lunch.
We'll do that anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody have anything else for Mr. Morning? Thank you for all the work you do in this county, and we appreciate you working with us on it. I'll see you Friday morning at 9:30.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank the board. Appreciate your time and your kind indulgences.
Okay, the next item number 14, Mr. Mormon, I believe it's up to you, staff rankings of RFPs received for planning design services for Greenfield.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. The county received 8 proposals for these services. These are for architectural and engineering design and planning services for an addition to this facility for the benefit of Virginia Western Community College, and then also conceptual and schematic planning for potential expansion space here for the county in the future. On the evaluation committee, we had representatives from the Economic Development Authority, the owner of the building. We had a representative for Virginia Western. Mr. Sloan helped us out representing the Board of Supervisors, and we had some other staff members, and we appreciate everybody's help in that process. The committee selected 3 firms for interviews, and they conducted interviews with architectural partners, Hughes Associates Architects and Engineers, and Mosley Architects. And in your packet is a ranking that is recommended by the committee for your consideration. And it is to rank those firms in that order, with architectural partners being the number 1 ranked firm. And then you can see the ranking following through all 8 firms. If you concur with that ranking and approve that today, we would also ask that you authorize the committee to proceed to contract negotiations with the top-ranked firm. And if they achieve satisfactory negotiations, the committee would bring back a recommended contract for your consideration at a future meeting. If the committee could not reach a contract agreement with the top-ranked firm, then they would terminate those negotiations, eliminate that firm from consideration, proceed to contract negotiations with the number 2-ranked firm. And they would continue that process until they either reached a satisfactory agreement with the firm, or they would come back to you all and recommend rejection of all proposals and presumably a restart of the process. So with that, I'm certainly open to any questions. Mr. Sloan may have comments that you'd like to share or not, but we certainly be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Well, the biggest thing I would like to say is the amount of work that this committee, some members of this committee has put in. John Kilby said that he was on his computer for almost 60 hours just doing the ratings. And also the staff with David and Susan and Jim adding to it brought it to fruition of what we have today. So if you would like, I'll make that motion to approve this situation that David has put in.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Here, second. Second. Okay, any question on that motion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, sir. I believe you have the next one too, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir. A couple of board members asked for just a general update on 2 projects that have been going on. The first one was the renovation and rehab of this facility for county administrative offices. That work, the majority of it was contracted out to F&S Building Innovations of Roanoke. That work is, for all intents and purposes, complete. There are a few outstanding punch list items to complete, but the occupancy was approved earlier this month. And we've begun to occupy that newly retrofitted space. The Department of Technology Services moved into their new space downstairs last Friday. Other departments will be moving in through the month of November into early December, and you've got that schedule there in your packet. Human Resources, Children's Services, and Purchasing will be moving in November 5th. Planning and Zoning, November 12th. Development Services, the 13th. And then the Commissioner of the Revenue and the Treasurer the first week of December, with anticipated opening of those offices here in the building Monday, December 7th. So that project went quite smoothly, went very well. We're very pleased with the work of both the architect and the contractors and all the subs. A very satisfactory project. We have a final walkthrough with facility staff scheduled for tomorrow morning. And so we'll see what will come out of that, but that project is wrapping up to, I believe, a very successful conclusion. This building is introducing some new ways of operating and living in a space for us. As you all are aware, you approved funding for HVAC improvements and enhancements to help with air purification and the removal of viruses, including COVID-19, which we very much appreciate. Security and access is something that we paid a lot of attention to in this facility. You'll notice there are key card sensors in various doorways and entrances, and so we'll have secure accesses that way. There will not just be open access throughout the building to either the public or employees, so that'll be something different and for us to get used to. But this building will offer a lot of advantages. in addition to the obvious advantages of conveniences to the public, being able to visit probably the three of the most highly foot trafficked offices in the county, the Treasurer's Office and the Commissioner of Revenue and Community Development, all under one roof, all in the same hallway. So convenient parking, handicap access, a lot of good things that this facility is going to offer the public and help us serve them more easily, and we appreciate that. I'm pleased to report that the cost on the renovation contract came in with just 1.5% of change orders over the original contracted cost. And so we were really pleased with that for a project this size. And again, I think that's a reflection of both the work of the architect as well as the quality of the contractor and the subs that we have working for us. The second project I wanted to briefly give you an update on is the Circuit Courthouse Planning Study. You all authorized award of that contract to a consulting firm of architectural partners, and the steering committee for that project consists of the circuit court judge, the circuit court clerk, the Commonwealth attorney, the county registrar, supervisors Bailey and Clinton, a representative from the sheriff's office, the mayor of the town of Fincastle, of course, Mr. LaRue, myself, Jim Whitten and Ricky Dowdy of the Maintenance and Community Development offices, Botetourt Historical Society President Will Martin, and Purchasing Manager Susan Tincher. Hopefully I didn't leave anyone out there. But that group has had one meeting so far. They met, let's see, I'm missing my date, but October 9th. There you go, October 9th. Thank you very much. And had their kickoff meeting then and discuss the overall plan and schedule and approach to the project. The group scheduled additional progress meetings for the steering committee for the months of November, December, January, and early March, with an anticipated and planned date to bring their report to you all, to this body, on March 23rd. So the next meeting of the steering committee is scheduled for November 13th, and that will be held in Fincastle. And the purpose of that meeting will be to review the needs assessments for the various offices and functions for the facility and future projections of those needs. So would invite Mr. Clinton, Mr. Bailey, if they have anything to add, and certainly welcome any questions that you have on that project as well.
Comments? Mr. Lowe? Dr. Bailey?
No, just I think Dave covered all the bases. It's a huge undertaking. I think it's deserved of a lot of thought, and a lot of people involved. And certainly there's the timeline they so graciously provided is, it shows there will be some detail into this thing. So look forward to the process. Be years in the making, I guess, before it's all done. But it's tied into the renovation of this, right? So that's the whole reason we're moving out here, or part of the reason.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you all
for the update. Yes, sir. Next agenda item is agenda number 16, consideration of request for advertisement of public hearing on amendments to Chapter 25, taxation of the Botetourt County Code regarding the meals tax, transient occupancy tax ordinances. Mr. Arney, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, fine, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Botetourt County meals tax ordinance and transit occupancy tax ordinance, as you know, has been around for quite a number of years in Botetourt. Since the adoption of these ordinances, there's been few, if any, revisions or updates throughout the time. So prompted by the move to our new tax software system and toward online payment ability to pay these taxes, we started the process of reviewing the code sections and identified several areas in need of revision or update. Majority of the revisions are really just for clarity and to further codify procedures and enforcement. The proposed revisions will have little, if any, effect on businesses who are required to collect these trust taxes. The only real change or the major change from the business owner's perspective is a change to the due date for the meals tax. The Commissioner of Revenue and I had discussed this some. The meals tax has a different due date than the occupancy tax. And we just felt like it made sense, one of these days down the road, we may have a large business that reports both meals and occupancy, which would be a great thing. And it makes sense to us, at least, to have these two trust ordinances reflect each other a little bit more and have the same due dates. So that's really the only change from the merchant's side that they would really notice primarily. County Attorney Mr. Locke has gone through this with us, and if you have any questions for him or for me or for Commissioner of Revenue, we'd be happy to. So what we're asking today is, if agreeable, to direct the staff to advertise for a public hearing for the November meeting regarding the drastic changes of the county attorney.
All right, any questions for Mr. Hardy? If not, do I hear a motion to request for an advertisement, some of the public hearing? Motion, do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Sloan, to approve that and to have a public hearing. Any question? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, sir. And under appointments, item number 17, we have two things there. One is determining Health Department alternate member of the Community Policy and Management Team, which expired on September the 1st. It's a 2-year term, and they recommend that Ms. Sandy McBride be appointed to this position for a 2-year term to expire on September the 1st, 2022. Do I hear a motion to accept? So moved. Motion from Dr. Bailey, second Dr. Scott Horn to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. And one more is an appointment to the Library Board of Trustees. Mr. Robert Pointer is willing to be reappointed for that position. Do I hear a motion to approve? So motion from Dr. Scott Horn. A second by Mr. Sloan to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you. And that ends the first section of our meeting today. I'll adjourn the meeting now to our 6 o'clock meeting when we reconvene. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank all of you in the audience who attended.
You got anyone else? I might be on this one.
I've always said yeah,
Hey, Nicole. We could take a look at some of the
totally opposite.
areas.
Heads up.
Oh, no! You can't take a dive for that. So, you know the area. So when are we supposed to meet up?
What up, Jason? Y'all hanging in there? I hear you.
Yeah, with anything crazy going on in the county today?
But you know, it's always early. It's just under the surface.
I hear you. The day it's early, it's.
So, what kind of candy is delegated?
I don't know. We just found out, I guess, they're doing a trunk or treat turnaround at one of their houses that are on the farm. Gentlemen park their trucks and open up, just in the gym. There, yeah.
Well, campus on the same thing.
Oh, yeah? Where? Hey, I still have that flyer that Bobby did in my vehicle. When are those things due? Or was that, I saw that thing, or those